Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another Arma hobby project. This one is this thing here. Oh, sorry, the microphone stands in the way. It is the 1/72nd scale P-51B Mustang. There we are. A kit I've wanted to make for a little while. Obviously it's been out a little while now, and lots of different sort of variations. This I think this might be the original boxing. I got it on a really good deal. I bought this myself before the channel was sponsored by Arma Hobby, and I got this off Amazon, and it was about 12 quid. I think it was ridiculously cheap. It was about half the price. This is the expert set, so it has photo etch in it and a set of masks. Now, more of that in a minute. As for the photo etch, it's with all Arma stuff. They've stopped including photo etch in their kits now. It's just brass. It's not coloured. It's some of the mesh screens, some of the and the seat harness, and one or two other little bits and bobs. Very welcome nonetheless, though. I've got a plan for mine that doesn't involve using the seat harness, however. But yeah, lovely aeroplane. Now, I really like the Malcolm hood. There's just something about the shape of the Razorback Mustang, I think, with the bubble canopy makes it look lovely. Yeah, okay, the birdcage one, the original canopy is nice and slick and very streamlined, but to me it looks a little bit old-fashioned. It's just something about a Malcolm hooded B Mustang that really appeals. The kit, Arma Hobby Mustang, obviously, like I say, it's been out a while. There's quite a few builds already on YouTube. What I'm going to do with this one is just kind of do a bit of a debrief as I go along. This is actually for a publication I'm doing this one for. So I'm not going to film the entire process, but what I will do, as you'll see in a minute, is just do little debrief bits as I go along, and hopefully that'll be entertaining and you'll enjoy the format. We shall see. Some of the extras I'm using, though, got a few down here, so I'm going to throw a few bits and pieces at this. Right, in this little box here is some Edward Brassin bits. I've got some exhausts and seat. The seat 3D printed, absolutely beautiful. There is a little bit of photo etch included with the plastic, the kit seat, a little bit of a faff, a little bit of a fiddle, and it's got the moulding on the seat cushions in the Brassin kit is really, really nice. So I'm gonna use that, see whether it fits, and yeah, we'll see how we go on that one. The exhausts are for the Edward D. Whether they fit this kit or not, I don't know. I hope so. Should do. Put that down. Right. I said a few moments ago that there are some canopy masks included with the kit, but they're in vinyl. And I find with vinyl masks, they do kind of lift up. So I've gone out and bought a clear prop masking set, very comprehensive, and I've got a feeling it's the inside and outside for the canopy on this. Massive fan of that way of doing things, inside and outside. I always paint the inside of my canopies. I think it makes a huge difference. If you just paint, if you're just going to do the outside of the canopy, paint the inside colour first and then the camouflage over the top. I think it looks a bit weird because you're looking at the interior colour through that thickness of plastic and it just looks rubbish. And obviously it's glossy. You get away with it on a closed canopy, but on an open canopy, I think you're going to struggle. So really pleased that these, are tape based, so they're going to stick to the curves, but also inside as well. Right, I'm going to have a go with these. These are the P-Wit masks for the undercarriage bays. Now, Oramask supply Edward and I've used those. Some of these look a little bit grotty in the Edward D that I've just finished. So I thought, I'm wondering if they're going to fit this kit. I hope they do. If not, doesn't matter. I'm just going to have to use a bit of sponge or something and do it myself. No great shakes, but I thought, you know, why not? We'll have a go at that. Okay, markings wise, on the back of the box, if I can grab that, obviously Ding Hao is at the is the box art, and it's boy, is that beautiful box art. Shave off. That's lovely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different aeroplanes on the box, and a bonus one because the shark's mouth one was captured by the Japanese and they painted their Hinomarus over the top. And so that'd be quite an interesting model. Now, I'm a bit of a sucker for shark's mouths, and I think that the Mustang really suits it, but I'm not going to go down that route. I have actually, and I haven't got it to hand, so sorry about that, I've got a decal set from Kit's World. They don't look brilliant, actually. I'm going to have a go at Kid Hoffer's aeroplane because I really like, as I said, the Malcolm Hood natural metal, but with olive drab upper wings and upper fuselage. I think that sort of combination of the natural metal and the matte olive drab colour, I think the contrast is brilliant, actually, and I'll be able to really get my teeth into the weathering. So I'm going to go down that route. But some lovely markings. I really like the Polish one version, the RAF version. That really appeals. There's another one as well, 3 Squadron, Australian Air Force in Italy in 1945. I do like the disruptive camouflage, but I am going to go for Kid Hoffer's aeroplane, like I say, natural metal and olive drab over the wings. I've already created the masks for that. Really need to replace those fuselage codes. There's a lot of sort of bleeding on the Kit's World decals. I don't know who does their printing, but they don't look great, if I'm honest. I think the serial number and the nose art I can get away with. Not pin sharp, but it's 72nd, so it's going to be quite small. But yeah, the codes, yeah, I don't think they're usable, which is a real shame. But I would have probably sprayed them on anyway because I'm going to rivet the fuselage and tail on this one. The Edward kit has got fully riveted fuselage and tail. The wings are just the panel lines. This is just the panel lines all over. And yeah, I really quite fancy doing that riveting job. And what I'm probably going to do is fill the panel lines on the wings. I thought I'll have a go at that. The Edward ones, I just left the panel lines, left the surface detail alone on the wings. And it looks great, but it's kind of halfway in between, you know. So if you're going to rivet the fuselage, rivet the wings, or do puttied wings. Don't sort of go half and half. But, you know, Arma Hobby, they've just done panel lines over the whole thing, which is absolutely fine. At least it's consistent. But like I say, I'm going to fill the wings in this and see how it looks. And I've got another Edward Mustang to do. I've already done one. Going to do the other one as a Korean War, and I'm going to putty the wings on that as well. But there we are. That's it. So this is the Arma Hobby P-51B Mustang in 72nd scale. Let's pop over to the bench and I'll show you the cockpit. Right, that's a bit weird, isn't it? Because I haven't started it yet, but you kind of know what I mean. All right, so yeah, let's go over to the bench and, like I say, have a look at the cockpit and see how I'm go on. Okay, here we are at the bench then, and the cockpit is finished. Similar to the Edward kit back here, although you don't have the full cage, you just have this moulded in detail at the back. But actually, when the fuselage halves are going to go together, yeah, you're not exactly going to see a great deal up there. So no great shakes there. The cockpit detail is absolutely stunning. I much prefer this cockpit to the Edward kit. and the Edward kit is very, very good. And the reason is just primarily really is, well, A, the molded in detail, but also the decals. So there's lots of decals here on the placard. So if I zoom you right in, oh, not too close. Right, here we are. I did manage to snap the oxygen hose here. It's very fragile in cleaning up, so that was a bit of a pain, but as you can see, it's absolutely fine. But just look at these black panels here that have these sort of white decals over the top, and they are absolutely superb. I mean, brilliant. Painted with MRP. It's had a wash and a varnish over the top. Starship filth again. That is the right hand fuselage half, and then the left hand fuselage half, similar sort of bits and bobs. This here is a separate part. The throttle is a separate part, and then there's decals here, here. This is a decal, and then even tiny little things here, decals. Absolutely phenomenal, really is. That's the sidewalls. The cockpit tub itself, here we go. Now, having said that I prefer this to the Edward kit, this is the Edward seat. It's the brassing seat though, 3D printed. I prefer the way that Arma have done the radios and stuff down here, because all these are separate pieces, which means there's no tricky masking like there is on the Edward kit. The fuel tank is separate. The battery rack mount here is separate, so you can paint that. Obviously these and the radio gubbins black and the frames green. Slightly different technique to get the wear pattern on the wood. So again, RLM 79. Then it was sealed with a varnish. The MRP black was sprayed over the top and very light in these areas, and then the paint was polished off with a Flory Models polisher to get that wear pattern, and I'm really pleased with how that's worked out. Hand painted these bits in here and also the bits on the back here. And what's going to happen is, and this is my next job, is the cockpit tub will just neatly fit into its recess there. Here's the radiator, and photo etch on this side and moulded in on the other side. You can see that's going to go in. The tail wheel's going to go in, and then I can put this together. So this is the first live dry fit, everybody. I've not done this yet. There we go. And you can just see how busy that is. I'll probably have to up the light here. Yeah, that's the light on the strongest setting. And you can just see that wonderful detail. Absolutely beautiful. Bit of a shine there at the bottom, a little bit of glue, but I'll just give that a quick blast with some varnish. Right, so that is the cockpit. Instrument panel then. This is going to go into the combing and then drop in. So this is the kit decal, and painted black, decal on, matte varnish, and then I've picked out the dials in. I don't know if I can get even closer actually. Right, let's just turn that glare down. Yeah, I'm just wondering if I can. Sorry, well, yeah, sorry. I'm going to start that again. I'm trying to do three things at once here. Right, yeah. Arma's instrument decals, best in the business. Really are. Went down beautifully, snuggled in, matte varnish, and then a bit of the what do you call it? The sort of nail acrylic stuff that sets by UV just to pick out the instruments, and that is beautiful. Big fan of that. The airframe, might as well leave the cockpit in there, hadn't I? The airframe, no rivets on the fuselage. I've added those myself using the Valiant Wings plans. And I think that's going to make a big difference. You'll note up here that I've not done any rivets. That's so I can just run it all the way over the top once the fuselage seams have been sorted out. And then that way there's no kind of awkward join where they, you know, you might get a slight mismatch. But as you can see, the fit is really, really good. Moving just to the wings. You can see here that I've done the, I've painted the roof of the undercarriage bay. And yeah, what a monumental pain in the bottom that turned out to be, because the stringers here are picked out in the zinc chromate. Everything else is metallic. What a pain. What a masking job that was. But I'm really glad I've done it. I'm also glad that the D version is all over zinc chromate. The wings on the other side, I've removed all the panel lines. Obviously the ammo bits and pieces and the guns are still there. But all the others, you might be able to just about see a bit of a ghost seam from the filler. The filler is Mr. Hobby epoxy, and I thought on this one I'd fill the wings in. I've done the underside as well. Here's the underside. Obviously these panels were not, and I think that's going to be a weathering job. Weathering job, but yeah, should give a more accurate result. Right, there we go. There we go, rather. That is part one. Next will be the airframe will be all together, and I'll give you a quick dit on that and a quick debrief. So I'll see you in a sec. Okay, here we are then. This is the completed airframe, and we're ready to paint. Some interesting things to point out, I think, on this model. First of all, that the fit is really good. Really good indeed. That's really nice. The fuselage then, starting off together, done with my standard super glue. So you can see the evidence of the seam there, just in black. That's with the Ammo by MIG black super glue. Works an absolute treat, I will say. The nose was interesting. So on the Arma Hobby kit, there's not much detail at all on the nose. Therefore, the central panel line was scribed in, and then all the fasteners, as you can see, all these here, were punched in with an MDC sort of Bradle tool thing, whatever you're going to call it. And I really like that because you get like a circular depression, so it looks just like a fastener. It's really cool. Obviously some rivets as well. These are double rivets with the Rosie tool. So I'll just zoom you in. You can see that there. Down on the aft end, as you saw from before, I've now done the rivets down here. I think I might do another row here just for consistency. Just looking at the plans, that looks typical, but yeah, maybe a little bit weird with that gap there. Just looking, but it's fine. The tailplane, that goes on really well as well. This little bit here, I did actually take off a tiny bit of material just here at the back, and that meant it squashed down quite nicely. Bit of ooze from the glue out here, and then that was sanded flush. And then the tail part just plonks on the top. Little bit of Mr. Surfacer, oh sorry, little bit of Mr. Surfacer, just to help tidy things up. The tail wheel has to go in when you put the fuselage hulls together. I should have mentioned that. So I'm still a bit worried about that, but it seems fairly sturdy now. I've added these two separate parts of the radiator sort of system, and I've added this strut here, actuating strut. I've added that. That didn't come in the kit. And all the rivets underneath as well. The wings, as you can see, are puttied. as I mentioned last time. So we've got all the panel lines that are visible, but all the other the panel lines, the gun panels and the ammo bay, that's all visible, but the rest of it has all been filled with the Mr. Hobby epoxy, sanded flush, a little bit of Mr. Surfacer just as belt and braces, and that's been polished away. I've got the O-mask. These are from the Edward D kit. They fit okay. There's the wheel well going on in there. You can see there's a little bit of a contour at the front here, so I'll probably just backfill that in with a bit of blue tack, and that should do a neat job. This joint here, not tricky, but does need a little bit of attention just to hide the seam. You can see there a little bit of Mr. Surfacer. I just need to polish that away from these covers. That's it. That is the airframe. The wing to fuselage joint is really very, very good. It's really pleased with that, and really pleased with how it's looking. Canopy, and so the parts have been masked inside and out. These parts were sprayed, and then the interior parts of the mask removed. So these are the clear prop masks. This is the birdcage part that I'm just using as a mask, and you can see there I've got tape inside, bit of blue tack, and a bit of the Mr. Neo Sol, whatever it's called, the latex stuff that's gone in there to try and seal that up. Now you will see here a little bit of filler, all right, just a little bit of filler. Again, like the Edward kit, this whole windscreen part is one piece and it goes on, and like the Edward kit, I had a bit of a faff this time on this side, just here. It's slightly too narrow, and this part here was slightly too high, and I've gone in and I've had to use just a little smear of filler just to try and smooth things in. What I may do is do a bit of Mr. Hobby epoxy over the top and then just scribe that line back in. I don't know, I haven't made up my mind yet. I might just leave it, but it's had a little bit of sanding as well, just to try and match the contour, but it's not as good as the rest of the kit, so a little bit disappointed about that. It's fine, just a little bit of modelling required to fair things in, but yeah, not as good as the rest of the kit, and I can feel the slight step there. So next up is priming. I'll sort out any seams that need adjusting, and then we're going to be into the paint. Now, I've changed my mind, which is not unusual for me. So I was going to do Kid Hoffer's aeroplane, which has got a natural metal fuselage and underwings, and then the olive drab on the top, so on the wings, the tail, and top of the fuselage. But actually, looking around, yeah, when I was researching pictures, there's actually quite a few models of his aeroplane already. Some with D-Day invasion stripes, some without, some with the partial ones. But actually, I think it might be quite fun to do an RAF aeroplane. And just doing a bit of research, I found 19 Squadron, which is one of my old squadrons. I was one of the I was on the very first course on TAC weapons on 19 Squadron. Everyone else was 74, so that was quite cool. And so I thought I'd do a 19 Squadron aeroplane, and I found a photo of one with the spinner of yellow and black stripes and yellow forward stripe around the nose, and that looks really cool. So I'm going to go and do that one, I reckon. And yeah, looking forward to it. Really looking forward to doing that. There we are. So here we are, ready for paint. And yeah, I'll see you in a second with some paint on this one. So I'll see you in a sec. As you can see, painted in RAF colours. This is 19 Squadron QV. I picked this one because primarily, well, two reasons. One, loving the nose stripes, the sort of bee sting. Secondly is I actually flew with 19 Squadron back on the Hawk when I was a student. So yeah, a little bit of a personal link there. Right, onto the painting then. I've had an absolute bloody nightmare with this, and it's not the kit's fault. It's some of the products I've used. I gave the model a wipe down with alcohol just to clean things off, get rid of any sort of stubborn sanding residue, fingerprints, that kind of stuff. And the primer I used was Mr. Finishing Primer 1500. A gloopy mess at the bottom of the bottle. It was quite an old jar and sprayed beautifully though. Left it overnight to cure, then started painting the camouflage. But when I did the masking and then pulled up the masks, it just pulled up the paint with it. Absolute nightmare. So what I'd done is I'd done the medium sea grey underneath, the sky band, masked those, and then I painted white on the tail fin and this area of the fuselage, because I was going to spray the markings. And then what I did is I put this mask down for the roundel, went to pull off the red, the blue and the yellow bit, and it pulled up sheets of the primer down to the bare plastic. Absolute nightmare. Repaired it, resprayed it, not with that primer. The fin was okay actually, and then again went in, remasked the grey line, and then painted the camouflage. Before I painted the camouflage, actually, I did the tail fin, and I did my usual, what I normally do, and that's paint white, then use the blue portion of the fin as a bit of a spacer to put the stripe in, then paint the red and the blue, and then the whole fin is big red, white, blue stripes, and then I just put a square of the right size over the top and then paint the camouflage. That worked really well until I pulled the mask off and realised I'd cocked up the dimensions, and actually I'd done halfway down and then put the white. So the white stripe was too far forward, so a little bit of swearing, a little bit of sanding, painting, remasking, sorted that out. The main colours here are Tamiya, sprayed freehand. I do like my Tamiya paints, must be said. MRP for the underside, and yeah, did a bit of shading here and there. That worked quite well. Then it came to pulling off the mask for the tail band. Yeah, you guessed it, that pulled up some of the primer as well, so I had to repair all that. And then I sealed the whole lot with a gloss varnish in. I used GX100, my favourite gloss, before taking a deep breath today and then doing the roundels and the codes. Had quite a bit of lift of paint just in this area on the green. I'll stick up a picture so you can see that, and then I had to sort of sand that down and repair the damage. Overall though, it's been frustrating, but I've got there in the end and I'm really pleased with how it's turned out. I'm really pleased with how the wings look, with no where I filled in those panel lines. Really like that effect. The rivets that I've done are really subtle, almost too subtle. It's had a sludge wash just using Starship Filth, and that's been polished away, and then the whole lot has been sealed with VMS satin. And I've gone for VMS satin because I used some decals for the stenciling on the wings, and yeah, just one or two stencils. There's one under the nose here, and I didn't do any of the other stencils, other than I've done the serial numbers at the back, and I just find that an acrylic varnish is much better at hiding the carrier film for stencils. So that's what I've done. Other disasters on this, not least the paint lifting, is there was a big fingerprint I put here with the acrylic paint. The banding on the stripes I got the wrong way round, and they were the wrong size, so they've been redone a number of times. I cocked up the masking on the tail band here again, had to touch that up, got overspray on the tail wheel. When I gloss varnished, I managed to damage some of the underlying paint, the medium sea grey here, so I had to let that dry, sand it back, and then go in and touch that up. I've managed to snap the radiator off a couple of times. I've dropped it. I've done all sorts of things to it. You name it, I've buggered it up. But it's not the kit, it's me. The flaps are all painted. These are just beautifully detailed, and we'll just pop them in. They need gluing in. They won't quite hold in place without glue at the moment, but they do set it up. And what I love about these is this sort of oil canning effect. I'm not sure whether the camera's going to pick that up, but it's just brilliant. Maybe on the underside you might get a little bit of a flavour of that. But that just goes in. There we are. So next up is going to be the weathering. Really looking forward to doing that. And this should be finished in a day or two. Exciting times. Yeah, so the next part will be the summing up right at the end of the project. So hopefully you can join me in a moment. See you in a... Right, here we are, all done. And I have to say, thankfully, because this thing has fought me all the way. It's not Arma Hobby's fault, far from it. It's all my fault. Just zoom out a little bit. And yeah, as you've seen in the previous episodes, just one thing after another. But there we go. The weathering's all done and the model is now finished. Let's start with the things that went wrong. So the attachment points for the drop tanks are actually really quite small and flimsy, so I drilled and pinned. When I drilled through, I managed to split the leading edge here, so this had to be glued, sanded and touched up. Knocked off the pitot probe, yeah, that went for a Burton. The undercarriage legs I initially glued on a bit wonky, so then I've gone in actually with some 5-minute epoxy and glued those in. Completely forgot about the exhausts, so I've done those now. Yeah, so the struggles have continued right to the very end. Let's talk about the weathering though. It's had a sludge wash with Ammo by MIG Starship Filth oil brusher. That is my favourite tone. It's this kind of oily, greeny brown tone that complements so many different colours. It's really ubiquitous. It's great. Then the model was varnished with VMS satin, left overnight to properly cure, and then it's had the oil dot weathering technique over the top. Dampened surface with some enamel thinner, tiny dots of oil brusher, lots of different tones, whites, browns, dust, the Starship Filth, black, a bit of green on the green bits, bit of blue on the blue bits, all blended in, and you get this really nice kind of dirty weathered patina. I love the effect. Underneath, more oils, and I've kind of gone to town with the oils underneath. So you can see all this grime here. Oh, look at that. I've gone and forgotten to do the bloody inboard gear doors, haven't I? Terrific. Right, I'll do those in a second. I told you, one thing after another with this flipping thing. Right, anyway. Yeah, I'll pop those on in a minute. But anyway, you can see the wheelwork detail much better without it. And all the grime down here. This is all oil paint, all blended in. And I really enjoy working with oils, and I just love this grimy effect that you can get with them. A little bit of dust near the back end. This is going to be on a base of what do you call it, PSP, so I'm not going to go I didn't go too mental on the dusting. Exhausts, which I've remembered to do, and the exhaust stain, that's just Tamiya acrylic, and I do find with the Tamiya acrylic, when it's so thin, that it really is quite shiny. So what I ended up doing is what I always do with all my exhaust stains, is just spray a bit of VMS flat varnish over the top, and that contrasts really nicely with the satin sort of flat but smooth finish of the airframe. Final things that went on was the bubble canopy. You get 2 canopies in the kit, one for closed, one for open. Obviously this one is slightly bigger, and it just sits on the rail, which is here, and it runs all the way down, and that is a separate part. And there we are. There is the model finished. Fought me all the way. Not the kit's fault. Still fighting me now because I've forgotten to do the gear doors, which I'll do right now. And what I'll do is I'll put the gear doors on, take some photos, and there'll be a gallery in just a moment. But I hope you enjoyed the format. I hope you enjoyed the model, and I'll see you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.